I was at Wegmans, our favorite grocery store, a couple weeks ago with my wife. This is part of our usual Friday evening ritual in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. She went to fetch something she needed in another aisle, and I stayed next to the cart in the refrigerated milk and juice section. As I stood there daydreaming about what I was going to do when the shopping was over, a couple caught my eye. It was a man and his wife, with his wife pushing a 2-year-old child in a stroller. The man was dressed in relatively typical American business casual style clothing. He was quite small, with olive skin and wiry black hair. If I had to guess, I would say that he was North African, maybe Moroccan or Algerian. His wife was wearing some sort of traditional garb that covered her almost entirely from head to toe. It was not a burqa, though. It was a fine, sort of smooth, mustard-colored fabric, and it had at least a little shape to it. The main part of it went over her body and the top of her head, and there was a detachable veil that was clipped onto the part that was over her head. All I could see were her eyes. I thought to myself, I wonder what their story is. Moments later, I was already lost in thought again, when off to my right I heard someone say, "Excuse me, sir?" I turned to see the man that I had just noticed, with his wife and child a step behind and to the right of him. He asked me in broken English if I knew where there was whole milk. It took a few sentences before I figured out what he meant. I found the whole milk about 10 feet away and pointed it out to him. This is when I noticed that his wife was following our actions closely, and at this point she asked him something in a language that I assume was Arabic, but I couldn't tell for sure. He then asked me if there was any smaller size than half a gallon. This is when I decided to try a little social experiment. I turned to her directly, looking right into her eyes, and asked if she was looking for a little carton of milk suitable for the small child in the stroller. I was very curious what her reaction would be. I thought she would probably completely freeze and let him answer. Other possible reactions could be that she would quickly look away once her eyes locked, or that the man might get mildly annoyed that I had addressed her, and completely take over the conversation again. Perhaps she'd rip her veil off and grant me 3 wishes for being a decent enough guy to treat her like a human being. I'm just kidding. The only woman from an Islamic country that I have those kind of fantasies about is my hairstylist from Iran, and she's about as westernized as I am. So what happened? Well, she looked directly at me and nodded. And her husband also said yes, without the slightest hint of irritation that I was clearly addressing her and not him. We didn't find quite what they were looking for, but in the end the man apologized for taking up my time. I chuckled and told him it wasn't a problem, that I wasn't going anywhere for a minute anyway. They then went on to another aisle to continue shopping. So why didn't I participate in Draw Muhammad Day a few weeks ago? Because I think that little experiment was much more interesting than proving that I fail at drawing. I hope you agree.